I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I can't tell you how many times I've watched people make financial decisions based on headlines that promise them money that's never coming. And right now, there's something spreading across the internet that's got millions of retirees checking their bank accounts every single day, expecting a deposit that frankly isn't there. We're talking about claims of 2,000 plus stimulus payments supposedly scheduled for February 2026 this month. And I need to set the record straight because your financial peace depends on understanding what's real and what's fiction. Here's the truth that nobody's talking about. Social Security operates on a strict payment schedule that's been in place for decades. If you're receiving benefits, you already know when your money hits your account. It's based on your birth date, and it's consistent. The Social Security Administration doesn't just decide to throw extra money at people without congressional approval, a presidential signature, and months of public debate. That's not how our government works. And that's certainly not how Social Security functions. These viral stories about surprise stimulus payments, they're designed to get clicks, not to inform you. What you need right now isn't false hope. You need accurate information about the actual changes happening with Social Security in 2026. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. Look, I'm going to be completely honest with you because that's what you deserve, and that's what I've built my entire career on. Telling people the truth even when it's not what they want to hear. The reason these stories about $2,000 stimulus payments keep circulating is because there's a whole industry built around getting your attention, getting your clicks, and unfortunately sometimes getting your personal information. I've seen it happen over and over again. Someone reads a headline that sounds too good to be true. They click on it. They start filling out forms thinking they're going to get this money. And the next thing you know, they're either disappointed or worse, they've handed over sensitive information to people who shouldn't have it. Now, before you think I'm just here to rain on your parade, let me tell you what is actually happening with Social Security in 2026, because there are real changes and they do affect your money. The cost of living adjustment that went into effect in January 2026 was 2.5%. That's the actual increase that Social Security recipients received, and it's based on the Consumer Price Index and the inflation we experienced in the previous year. This isn't a one-time payment. This is a permanent increase to your monthly benefit, and that's actually more valuable than any one-time stimulus check could ever be. Think about it this way. If you're receiving $1,800 a month in Social Security benefits, that 2.5% increase gives you an extra $45 every single month over the course of a year. That's $540, and it continues year after year for the rest of your life. That's the real money we should be talking about, not some phantom $2,000 payment that doesn't exist. But here's where people get confused, and I understand why. Back during the pandemic, we did have stimulus payments. We had the CARES Act payments. We had the second round of stimulus, and we had the American Rescue Plan payments. Those were real. They were authorized by Congress. They were signed into law by the president, and they were distributed by the IRS, not by the Social Security Administration, by the way. And here's the critical part that everyone needs to understand. Those payments required massive legislative action. We're talking about bills that were hundreds of pages long, debated in Congress for weeks, voted on by both the House and the Senate, and then signed into law. The funding had to be appropriated, the distribution mechanisms had to be set up, and the American people were told about it through official government channels, not through random websites and social media posts. Right now, as I'm talking to you in February 2026, there is no such legislation. There's no bill sitting on the president's desk authorizing $2,000 stimulus payments to Social Security recipients. There's no congressional debate happening about it. There's no appropriation in the federal budget for it. And most importantly, the Social Security Administration has not announced it. The IRS has not announced it, and the Treasury Department has not announced it. When the government is going to send you money, real money, they tell you through official channels. You can go to ssa.gov right now and you won't find anything about a $2,000 stimulus payment because it doesn't exist. What you will find on ssa.gov is information about the actual changes that affect your benefits. You'll find information about the Medicare Part B premium changes, which did go up slightly for 2026. You'll find information about the earnings limit if you're working while receiving Social Security benefits before your full retirement age. You'll find information about the maximum taxable earnings limit, which affects how much of your income is subject to Social Security taxes if you're still working. These are the real changes that affect real people's finances. And they're not nearly as exciting as a headline promising you $2,000, but they're what actually matters to your financial situation. Let me slow this down and explain why this matters so much to your overall financial picture. If Social Security is your primary or your only source of income, you're living on a fixed budget. There's no wiggle room. You already know exactly where every dollar goes. You know your mortgage or rent, you know your utilities, you know what groceries, prescriptions, insurance, and gas cost. There isn't a lot of extra in that equation. So when you see a headline promising an extra $2,000, your brain immediately starts allocating that money. That's human nature. Maybe there's a car repair you've been putting off because you couldn't justify it. Maybe the roof needs attention or the furnace is making a noise you don't like. Maybe you've got medical bills Medicare didn't fully cover, or maybe nothing fancy. You just want to do something meaningful with your grandkids. None of that is reckless. That's normal planning. The problem is when that money never actually arrives. At that point, it's not just disappointing, it's dangerous because people start making decisions today based on money they believe is coming tomorrow. I've talked to folks who delayed paying utility bills because they were convinced a payment was right around the corner. I've talked to people who use credit cards for necessities, planning to pay them off once the money showed up, and that's how you slide into debt without meaning to. And then there's the darkest part of this scams. I've spoken with people who lost money because criminals convinced them a government payment was coming and all they needed to do was verify their information or pay a small processing fee. These scams are real, they're professional, and they target seniors on purpose because seniors are more likely to be on Social Security and more likely to believe an official-sounding message about a government payment. Once your information is out there, the damage can be permanent. That's why understanding how Social Security actually works is so important. Knowledge is protection. Social Security doesn't work off headlines or political rumors. Your benefit is calculated using your lifetime earnings record. The Social Security Administration takes your 35 highest earning years, adjusts them for inflation, and runs them through a formula. That formula determines your primary insurance amount, the baseline benefit you're entitled to. That amount assumes you claim at full retirement age, which for most people today is between 66 and 67 depending on your birth year. Claim earlier and your benefit is permanently reduced. Delay claiming past full retirement age and your benefit increases by about 8% per year until age 70. That's it. There are no surprise bonuses. There are no random stimulus checks baked into the system. So when you see headlines promising extra money, the smartest move is to pause, verify, and plan conservatively. Don't spend money you don't have. Don't delay bills based on rumors. And never give personal information to anyone claiming they can unlock a government payment. Social Security works on rules, formulas, and long-term planning, not wishful thinking. And the more clearly you understand that, the safer and more stable your financial life will be. Once you're receiving benefits, they're adjusted annually based on the cost of living adjustment, which is tied to the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. The government measures inflation, and if there's been inflation, your Social Security benefits go up to help you maintain your purchasing power. Some years the increase is larger, some years it's smaller, and there have even been a few years where there was no increase at all because there was no measured inflation. But this is a systematic, predictable process. It's not something where the government just randomly decides to send out extra money. Now, could Congress pass legislation authorizing additional payments to Social Security recipients? Absolutely, they could. They've done it before. In 2009, during the Great Recession, there was a one-time $250 payment to Social Security recipients as part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. But here's the thing. Everyone knew about it because it was part of a massive stimulus package that was all over the news. It was debated, it was controversial, it was voted on, and it was official. It wasn't something you heard about from a random website or a viral social media post. It came from official government sources, and you could verify it by going directly to ssa.gov or irs.gov. The problem with these viral stories about stimulus payments is that they prey on hope and they prey on need. people who are living on fixed incomes, people who are struggling to make ends meet, people who are worried about rising costs. These are the folks who want to believe that help is on the way. And I get it. I really do. I've spent my career helping people get out of debt and build wealth. And I know that when you're struggling financially, any promise of relief sounds like an answer to prayer. But false hope is worse than no hope at all because it can lead you to make decisions that actually make your situation worse. So what should you do instead of waiting for a stimulus payment that's not coming? First, get your information from official sources. If you want to know about Social Security changes, go to ssa.gov. If you want to know about tax credits or IRS payments, go to irs.gov. If you see something on social media or a random website claiming the government is sending out money, verify it with official sources before you believe it. Second, focus on what you can control. You can't control whether Congress passes a stimulus bill, but you can control your spending, your saving, and your financial planning. If you're struggling to make ends meet on your Social Security benefits, let's talk about real solutions. Can you reduce expenses? Can you find additional sources of income? Do you have assets you're not using efficiently? Are there benefits you're entitled to but not receiving, like food assistance or help with Medicare costs? Third, and I cannot stress this enough, you have to protect yourself from scams. If someone reaches out to you claiming to be from Social Security, the IRS, Medicare, or any other government agency and starts talking about a payment you're owed, your guard should immediately go up. That's not how the government operates. They don't cold call people. They don't text you links. They don't email you asking for confirmation. And they never ever ask you to pay a fee to receive money that supposedly belongs to you. Let me be very clear. The government does not ask for your Social Security number, your bank account details, or your passwords over the phone. Not ever. Anyone who does is not a government employee. They're a criminal. And these criminals are good at what they do. They use official-sounding language. They spoof phone numbers. They create urgency. They tell you the payment will be delayed or canceled unless you act right now. That pressure is the tell. If you get a call like that, hang up. Don't debate. Don't explain. Don't try to be polite. Just hang up. Then, if you're worried or confused, take control of the situation. Look up the official phone number for the agency yourself and call it directly. Never use the number the caller provides. And follow this rule like your financial life depends on it, because it does. Never give personal or financial information to anyone who contacted you first. Now, let's step back and talk about what real financial security and retirement actually looks like, because it's not what most people think. Real security is not waiting around for the government to surprise you with extra money. That's hope, not a plan. Real security is boring, it's intentional, it's built over time with discipline and clarity. Real security means you have a written budget and you know exactly where your money is going every month. It means you're living within your means, not right up against the edge. It means you've created some margin, some breathing room, so one unexpected expense doesn't knock your whole life off balance. If you're receiving Social Security, that income is guaranteed for life. And that's a powerful foundation. You can't outlive it. It shows up every month. That stability matters. The real question isn't whether Social Security is valuable. It is. The question is whether you're maximizing it and managing it wisely. Have you coordinated your claiming strategy with your spouse so you're not leaving lifetime benefits on the table? Are you being intentional about when and how you draw other income so you're not paying unnecessary taxes on your Social Security? Are you reviewing your Medicare options each year to make sure you're not overpaying for coverage you don't need? Are you taking advantage of assistance programs that can lower prescription drug costs or medical expenses? Those are the moves that actually improve your quality of life. Those are the decisions that give you control. The real story about Social Security in 2026 is not a $2,000 stimulus check. That makes for a catchy headline, but it doesn't build security. The real story is how you protect yourself from misinformation, how you avoid scams that target fear and hope, and how you build peace on a fixed income by making smart, steady decisions. That may not be exciting, it may not feel dramatic, but it works. And I would rather give you truth that empowers you than hype that sets you up for disappointment or worse, financial damage. That's why I'm telling you plainly and directly, stories about $2,000 stimulus payments scheduled for February 2026 are not based in reality. Hope is not a plan. Headlines are not a strategy. Clarity, discipline, and truth